All right, we live. Welcome. I got Mr. Controversial in the building. I know Kim is very controversial, but we in here. Okay, we gonna talk about some things. I appreciate Kim. I mean, when I met him, yeah, we had like a little beef there, but we squashed it. And I think you just be spitting some truth, and the truth is always controversial. So you're welcome on my platform, but let's talk about this. So I already got some comments saying you're anti-biracial. So do you want to address that before we move forward and tell everybody how this conversation came about? Second, he just left all of a sudden. Oh, there we go. Okay, he's back. All right. So, did you hear what I said earlier about addressing some of these comments saying you're anti-biracial and stuff like that? So,
Oh, you want me to address those things?
did you want to address that before we move forward?
Well, like I said before many times, if you want to address that first, you need to talk to your parents about that. Because if anything is going on with the identity issues going on, that's your parents. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not your parent. I'm not your mom. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not your dad. If you want to know why there's identity issues going on, that's not me. That's them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Mm-hmm.
but no one wants to take the task to talk about their parents and what's going on in their households
Mm-hmm.
because there is an issue
Mm-hmm.
going on. And the last time I checked, the people from my community in the region I'm from, they're not fetishizing mixed people here in the United States like that. It is
Right.
what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I called the task. Um, this is why people say, "Well, I'm you're anti." You know what? A lot of anti stuff going on. Trust me, and trust me, you don't think what's going on in these households, you better believe it. So
Mm. I agree with that. It is a lot of weird stuff. It is in America. In Latin America, they don't do all this, like this mixed race fetishization. So we came about this topic because you seen
yeah,
me on full Latino stream, and you said that nobody wanted to address the mixed race fetishization and how that plays a factor into why we don't have an identity and why we're going through everything that we're going through. So you wanted to touch
yeah,
on it and talk about it. So yeah, you're welcome to talk about it because I'm learning from you because you said that you've been talking to biracial peoples longer than I have. Like I only been in these spaces for since 2020, and you said you've been talking to biracial people since 2017, so you have more of like an insight
yeah,
about what's going on in their household that is not
yeah.
talked about a lot. So, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've talked to several, if not maybe close to around over maybe since 2017, maybe around like over maybe 70 types of biracials. Different combinations, of course. Black and white, mainly those. Like that's the real one we gotta talk about. The biracials. I've talked to HAPA kids, but in this case we're gonna do with HAPAs right now. But I've talked to plenty of them, and the stories. Even I was in shock of what was going on in these households. It got to me. Now, someone's gonna say it's not my household. I get that. We can all get that. Every household is different, right? But when I start hearing their conversations, this is guys and girls. They have told me endless stories again and again and again to the point that, okay, this is a problem. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, when you hear those guys talking in their streams, they're gonna start talking about black man, how we suffered, this and that, and I'm like thinking to myself, okay, that's fine, great. We all love our sad stories of our history, right? But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, hold up, 1 second here, hold up. That doesn't stop the fact that, okay, the white man is evil. He's pressing on your neck, but why are you guys still sleeping with their women?
I've heard
Like,
some crazy justifications for that. You know what I've heard in like pro
Yeah,
black spaces? I've heard that they're trying to breed out white people. They're trying to like conquer white people through fucking them, basically, which is weird, right?
I
I'm
heard
like,
that too.
I've literally heard that said. They were like, oh, you've heard that too, that they're trying to like breed them out, and that's the only
Yeah,
way that they could like conquer them, because like the black seed is dominant, so they could wipe out whiteness. And I don't know, isn't
yeah.
that weird? I don't know. And then but I hate that it's called it's a saying for that. It's called like erotic, what is it? Erotic rage or something like that. There's a term for it. It's called erotic rage, where you
Yeah,
go and you're like pissed off, like you're pissed off at white people, so you go and try to fuck their women so you could get back at the white man
that
or
that
whatever.
that.
But nobody's thinking
There you
about these
go.
mixed race children that come into being. Like they're like an afterthought. Like you're pissed off. You want to go fuck white women because give it to the white man, and all these mixed race children are being born. And what, like, you hate white people so that you don't want them to identify, you don't want them to claim half of their heritage because you hate them. So
Yeah,
it's weird. There's a lot of weird ass shit that's going on that comes about this white
they're
versus black
hiding
war,
that.
and us in the middle of it, and that we're suffering because it's like y'all both hate each other but y'all keep fucking each other, so it's weird. It's very
Yeah,
weird.
it's a sad thing
Hmm.
about that, and that's the that is that's the fetish, and that's something that they don't want to talk about, and
Hmm.
that's what they're hiding, because I've talked to way too many biracial women and guys, but in this case, it's up because you're a girl here. Biracial women
Hmm.
told me stories, endless stories, and
Hmm.
the part that I never talk on my stream, which they don't want to talk about. And by the way, for all the kids out there that feels like, well, those are just black men that's doing that. Black women, we don't do that. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've talked to other biracials who have black moms. They do the same thing, just like their man does.
They fetishize
Pro,
the children. They do.
pushing pro blackness onto the child. Take me to the hood after living some well to do area. Take me to the hood. They always love going to the hoods, and preach pro blackness. You know the same thing, like the seed of the father. Oh, the woman is from the black woman was the queen, the womb, and the genetics, and but if the black woman bursts, whatever, then all of a sudden, the woman, the child identifies more as black, and that whole thing with Cynthia G thing, which is really insanely crazy. Which is like, you hear how this
Hmm.
way she talks. It's like it's boggles my mind. Like, I've heard girls like Divested Zealots say something like that. These other girls say like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God, we're gonna have doesn't matter. We date out. We're gonna still birth black children." I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's kind of weird.
It is weird because they're like they don't want to accept that we're biracial and that we're mixed race, and it
Yeah,
hurts us. It hurts us, and it hurts our community.
yeah,
And these narratives that are being pushed, and it's okay. I feel like we get weaponized because a lot of people like to bring it up, like, oh, back in the day, you were weaponized against the white black community, but nowadays it's like we're being born so we could, quote unquote, use our light skin privilege, to benefit the black community, and only identify as black and only work for the black community, but at the same time we don't get no respect for it. We don't get our
yeah,
our identity is not respected in any way. It's just like we're fetishized and used as slaves, and that's our goal. And then us now, we're trying to build a community. We're trying to be like, oh no, screw that. I don't want to be no slave. I don't care about acceptance. You know what I'm saying? I'm not I don't want to have to deal with acceptance when it comes with terms and conditions, right? So now we're trying to build our own communities, and it keeps getting attacked. Like, oh, you're trying to segregate, you're trying to do this, you're trying to
yeah.
you're being divisive, you're taking away from our numbers and people. But it's like, but we don't get no respect, and our identity is not. If I say I'm biracial, the fact that I'm biracial, people think that I'm being anti-black, or I hate my blackness, or all that nonsense. So it's like, what's the point? What's the point of being part of a community that doesn't respect our identity, that what we are? So I gotta sit
You
here.
know,
So yeah.
I will say, I say this to the other guys in the stream, because he's not here to defend himself or anything. But I'll make it very brief. To the people out there, they're talking about Latinos and everything, and stuff. You guys them something also. People from Latin America, it's like a completely different storyline. It's not the same thing as what we see here in the United States.
It's a way different storyline. It's
It,
a whole
it's
different
Yeah, it's a
thing how everyone
different.
explains. Mm-hmm.
Everything's completely different, and I've talked to too many biracials about this off of YouTube. And that's why, for me, I'm proud to say that because people think, oh my God, Kim, he says this, he said, but something, it is kind of weird that someone like me, who's not from black or white American backgrounds, I don't have an American parent that knows all this information. So someone's got to start telling yourselves, okay, who's he been talking to? Because I'll tell you who I'm talking to. I talked to too many biracial kids that are now growing around my age, because I'm in my 30s, who have told me endless stories of what's going on in these households. And yes, that's the part that whenever the black guys particularly start talking in the United States, start talking about, biracial identity, they quickly kind of like go back to, civil rights and slavery and Jim Crow. But what I'm more concerned about is, okay, so tell me, how come you guys are complaining about biracials taking over the NBA then? Then you start
Mm-hmm.
saying stuff like, then you start saying that we will not be replaced. And then all of a sudden, you're the same group of characters that promoted interracial dating. Say, he's a tall, handsome black brother myself, he could do whatever he wants. And then he gets a non-dark skinned black American woman particularly, and then all of a sudden they want to have a kid, and then the kid comes out lighter than the guy, and then but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, these are the same guys who will come to me and say, "Oh, you people are racist and you hate black people, and you're trying to wind your race up to a guy who is dating out constantly." In fact, most of the guys that are talking on YouTube and in these streams, if you start to figure it out, most of these people are not dating their own people. It's like the most weirdest thing to me. It's
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, it's like people create us, they promote interracial dating, but they don't really want to have a place for mixed race people. It's
yeah,
like, oh, you don't want to complain about us, the National Biracial League. It's like, so they're not supposed to be there. Where are they supposed to be at? Like, we're not supposed to exist. Like, I don't understand. So it's like, it don't
yeah.
make sense. But when we
Anytime,
want to create our own
yeah.
spaces and have our own identities, we're not supposed to do that either. So it's like, y'all want to create us, but not have a place in us, in the world for us. So it's
because
very
because
weird.
the thing about it is, unfortunately, when you talk to a lot of kids that come from black American dads, they're very protective of their fathers. Biracial kids, they're very protective. I noticed that. And whenever I
Mm-hmm.
talk about their dads, they kind of get emotional because they don't want to talk about the fact that their dad pushed pro blackness on them. That's what happened. That's what happened to that kid patriarchy. That kid in
Mm-hmm.
Missouri that's all like, this and that. I could tell that he got pro black tendencies. And again, same with what happened to you. You came from, you know, your mother was, a black woman. You were, eventually pushed into pro blackness, and it's like,
I
okay,
was,
so
but it wasn't through my parent. It was just
yeah,
through, living in an environment that, I wanted to
okay,
better I
yeah,
love the black community, and it was like, it was out of love, really. I wanted to help the black community, and it really hurt when it was like we seen all this anti-mixed race in pro-black spaces. Like, the junk hurt. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, let me just not be in those spaces. But you want to address these comments real quick? Okay, somebody said
yeah.
Kim pretends to like biracials, but he doesn't. He just uses us to go after black men. How do you feel about that?
You should talk to your dad about that.
He uses
I'm
us to
sorry.
go after black
Listen,
men.
I know what he said before. I will never forget it. I'm like, he talked about Dominicans. I'm sorry, Dominican men are not dating out. Your dad's people are.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about that.
That's
Do you feel like in Latin America that there's less like mixed race fetishization because we're like the majority over there versus here where it's like we're still a smaller population, so we get fetishized more? Do you feel like that's like is that not a thing in like Latin America, like mixed race people being fetishized? So
because they're the majority. At this
because
point,
they're
it's
the
more like,
majority.
yeah, they're the majority, and most of the time, I mean, let's be for real. There's other problems in these countries more than
Mm-hmm.
race. I feel like here in the
Mm-hmm.
United States, it's like they care about the most, silliest things, and that's because
Mm-hmm.
we're a wealthy country. I think a lot of Americans that got nothing else to do, and the thing about it, they spend hours on it about transgenders. I understand that's an issue, but let's be for real about this. When you're in Mexico, you're not thinking about trannies. You're really thinking about the conflict and the drug war. When you're in Argentina right now, you're thinking about the economy. When you're thinking about what's going on in other countries where you see a lot of economical serious issues, you're not really
Hmm.
worried about,
Oh, it's
oh
like,
my God,
yeah,
it's
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 like first
it's
world
it's not,
issues. It's like
yeah,
first world problems type
yeah,
of
that's
thing.
that.
Okay. Mm,
Yeah, this is the
yeah.
thing about it. For me, when I hear people talk about, like the interracial stuff, blah blah blah, you know, I'm sorry to say this about a lot of Americans. They gotta stop thinking about skin tone. Culture
Hmm.
matters. End of discussion.
Culture matters.
Culture
Yeah.
really matters. And I heard one of the guy, he claimed to be like multi generational, and he MGM, I guess, the MGM Grand from casino from Las Vegas. He started saying about something about Dominicans. These guys get emotional, and he started saying, "When I see them, I see my cousins," and it's like
Hmm.
when I heard that, I was like, like you don't relate to any of these guys. Like Dominican
Hmm.
Republic has an entire different culture. And they don't understand. Like they look at everything like, do you have the same features? Do you have the same? No, it's really culture.
Hmm.
It's really a big deal, and I
Hmm.
feel like what's happening here right now in the United States, you got a lot of people, right, who are not
Hmm.
proud of being American. It seems, and you seen that, like no one's proud of being American. I'm black.
It's
I'm white.
true.
No one says that. The only time where I see people were actually proud of being American was 9/11. That was the only time.
Mm. Mm.
I
Or
can't
like
think of
during like
nothing else.
the World Cup. Did you see during the World Cup? It's like all of a sudden everybody's proud to be American. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like little stuff like
the
that.
patriotism, and something, and the idea of what is
You know why
race.
though? You
Yeah,
know why? You know why? Because so many people, say, "Oh, America was built on racism, built on slavery, built on all these horrible, built on genocide." So that's why so
yeah,
many people are like, "Oh, I can't be proud to be American," because that's like saying, "Oh, I'm proud to be in a racist country," or "I'm proud," So that's why so many people have issues with saying they're proud to be American.
yeah.
Hmm. Yep, yep,
And
and it's sad.
that's
It's sad, but
it's
that's
sad.
the
It's
point.
a lot. People
Mhm.
tell me, I don't like this and that. I'll tell you right now. Listen, this is the United States. There's a lot of people don't like themselves. I don't.
That's true. I'm gonna talk about that. Yep, the self-loathing that people have.
Oh, it's huge.
Yep,
It's huge in
yep.
this country. I see it. And by the way, it is also
Do
you
you
can also
think?
include Hispanic,
Mhm.
Latino American kids as well because they gotta
Do
be
you
pulled out.
think that? I think okay, because there's a lot of factors that go into interracial dating, right? Some
Yeah.
people it's proximity. Some people genuinely just want a different female. Well, there's a lot of factors, but I do think it's a big factor that self-loathing people they want to, that's when the fetishization comes in because they want to fetishize, somebody
Yeah.
who looks different from them. I think that's a big factor in the fetishization is the self-loathing and the self-hatred. I think that
Oh
is.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that sucks for us because you hear all these crazy stories and it's like if people just love themselves, like we got to start practicing self-love and then you can start creating children out of love and not out of hate, out of self-hate. And then the
It'll be
children will
different.
be better off. They'll be in better
I agree with you.
households and so that's an issue like we people have to address this self-loathing so that us mixed race children are not being born into parents that are self-hating and it's like it's a stereotype with us because when Americans when we think like most Americans when they think of interracial couples they think oh that one of the parents must hate themselves and it's a common stereotype but stereotypes hold some weight to it a little bit some of the time but it's like it's something that needs to be addressed and talked about like are you why what's your intentions like your intentions matter so yeah, I do think that it's very important that, people who do choose to interracially date, they got to really, question themselves and be like, okay, is this out of self hate or is this just genuinely somebody that I'm attracted to, that I really want to be with, that we're compatible with, so that, they can actually have healthy families? Because we don't come from, most of us come from broken homes. Most mixed race
Yeah.
people in America definitely come from broken homes, single parents, not really caring about the kid because they were just fetishized, it was just a fetish and then, so it's like it's a lot to be addressed that starts with, the self-loathing issues and where does that come from
Yeah.
and people hating themselves and, I think it goes to like internalizing, like a lot of white people hate themselves. Let's be real. A lot of
Oh yeah,
white people, it's not
a
just
bit.
black people, it's a lot of self-hating white people that, they hate themselves so much. And it's sad, so I don't know. I just want there to be people go about interracial dating in a healthier way.
Oh yeah,
Because
one
I
hundred
think the
percent.
majority of it is not healthy. It's not, and
No,
it
it's not.
harms the children. It harms our
It's
communities.
really as a
So
guy. I'll speak as a guy. It's no question. I would say roughly 90% when it comes to interracial dating, it's based on as a man is based on sexual fetishes. 100%. Give it up to me because it's listen. People think I'm being oh my god, Kim's racist. No, because if it was a black man from whatever, he's in the library, he met this beautiful white girl and he fall in love. And why you like about her? Oh, because she's into books. She's into Beverly Cleary books. I'm into sci-fi. We just get along just fine. If it was like that, I have no problem with that. I think no one does.
exactly,
But
I think
but
that's
when I
healthy.
hear but when I hear the black woman ain't shit, she ain't no good. She
Yeah,
got
that's not
self hate.
good.
I don't want to deal with this bitch. Is
Yeah,
leaving. These
they
women
just want to
treat me
get back
better.
at the other. Yeah, they want to get back. It's like a revenge. Like, oh, I hate this. I hate the opposite sex of my race, so I'm gonna go get with the opposite of.
Uh,
It's like a weird revenge thing. Let me read some of
and
these
let
comments
me
real
tell
fast.
you something.
Hold
This
on,
is
let me read
not
some of these
something.
comments real fast. It say, well, it's because people try to guilt trip Americans, especially white people, for being American. Whenever white people want to have pride in themselves, people want to say they're being racist or try to segregate themselves. And then Maria said, gringos are race focused because they're not united as a culture, whereas other people are united as a culture. They don't understand the conversation. Exactly. We're not united as a culture at all. We're not. Especially in
You know,
college and schools, they literally teach them to be ashamed of their country. Exactly. Whenever you get with it, it develops organically, not developed for a foul or exactly. Yeah, we're not united as a culture. We're not.
nope.
Exactly. Like nope,
And
not
and
not
that's
one bit
something
at all.
and that's
Mhm.
something that I keep telling people because this isn't like I said. You think just black and white Americans. I talked a lot about the Asians, right? And a lot of Asian. Well, I know you're not Asian none of y'all are HAPA people, but I do talk to a couple of HAPA kids who come from half white, half Asian, offsprings, and it's literally a bunch of white men getting with Asian girls, and it's like, I'm not saying no one talks about it, but it's just something similar. The dads get angry. He comes out more Asian, calls him chink in front of his face, and there's some weird stuff going on.
That's fucked.
Then you got the white nationalist saying, my wife is Asian, and I'm not really racist because my wife is Asian. And you find out all the white
Mm.
nationalists have like Asian girlfriends, and it's the same thing. And then
It's
or,
very weird.
or Latina girlfriends, or you got the pro blacks like Phil the Advice Show, whose sister talk about Mexicans, but his wife is Mexican. I'm like, and she's the
Mhm.
most lightest one walking around. And I'm looking at
Mhm.
it weird.
Mhm.
I look at it's so many examples of this, and it's like you go look. It's not just the NBA. I mean, look what's going on in Hollywood. I mean, I said this to one white girl one time. Yo, why are so many of the actors right now? They're not even dating white American girls right now. A lot of dating like European women now. They're dating Latino
Mhm.
women now. They're getting like you said. It's like and like, how do you feel about this? And you'd be surprised. A lot of white women are angry that their men are dating out, and the same thing goes with their women. The black women, because you have a scenario now where there's way more men dating out than is the
Mhm.
females, and the females don't know what to do. And on top
Mhm.
of that, you got these retarded red pill MGTOW, manosphere or dating coaches. They come to this country and this and that, which is why I got involved because I noticed something. All these disgruntled dudes, they're coming down to Latin America, and I'm like, uh-oh, we got a problem.
Oh, passport
And
bros. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
yeah,
The
we
pass,
got, and
not
I
the
said,
passport bros.
yeah, and then I
And
would
then
hear
they're
them
mad,
talk.
yeah, and they're trying to take that toxicity into other countries and fetishize other women in other countries and trying to bring their toxic ideologies. Like somebody said, they're trying to divide. They said Latin America is united as a culture, and outsiders want to guilt trip us into dividing racially. So they're trying to bring that mentality of, oh, I'm black, you're black, or trying to divide people racially. Because people, I think America, yeah, they're more obsessed with race, and they're not too concerned with culture. When in other countries, they're more concerned with their culture and they're not really concerned with race. And then people are trying to take that mentality and try to push it on, other people
Yeah,
who are united culturally and trying to separate them racially.
and the
So
same thing
you don't let
goes.
that happen. That's not good. I think it's
Yeah,
better to
and I'm sorry to say this. There's that one guy, patriarchy guy. He's biracial, and he's a very self-loathing guy. I can tell right away. He got
yeah, I seen that. He's embarrassing. I seen him before. I don't know. He was just super. He
self-loathing
was
guy.
saying he was no, he was saying that like white men are superior and all this embarrassing ass stuff. And I was like, that is so embarrassing.
But
Like,
this
why
guy
would you
goes to the
think
Dominican
that?
Republic
It's
constantly.
so embarrassing. I was just like, you know what? That guy, I don't claim him. Okay, we don't claim him in this. I don't know. He was embarrassing. But let me talk to you about. So I hate that biracial people. It's like we're born with a job, right? It's like they expect us mixed race people to like fix all the racial issues somehow be the
Yeah.
bridge and fix all these racial issues in America. I'm like, look, we didn't create all these racial issues, and y'all gonna have to fix your own race relations. Y'all can't just fuck and then have a child and then fix. That's like expecting a child to come in and fix the marriage so y'all don't divorce. Like that don't even make no sense. So I just hate that we're expected. You see all these fucked up racial issues, and we're expected to just be the bridge and bring everybody together. Like that's what they were expecting Obama to do.
Here's the
I
thing.
remember
Here's the
that,
thing.
but how is that
Here's
going
the
to
thing
happen?
about that. Here's the thing about that. This goes back to what I told you before, because no one puts these people in the task. That is the father and the grandfather. That's the ones
Mhm.
most of the talking. If he's biracial, if the biracial kid comes from a black man and a white woman, I always criticize the black father for what's going on, but no one introduces this idea. Where's the white grandfather on the mom side? Where is he at? Why are you allowing this? They're both guilty as charged. They need to be
Mhm.
dragged in the middle of the street and told, "What are you doing?" And they need to be
Mhm.
checked. And you say you're doing a bad job. You're not being good parents. You're not being a good father, a good grandfather. Because I'm sorry to say this, let's see for real. You call biracial people like slaves. Let's put it further. Let's see for real. They're also sex slaves. Because the eye candy, the exotic chick. I'm sorry. That sounds like prostitution. I'm sorry. It sounds like it. It's the way these guys keep talking about these women. It sounds like a fetish. And we had Golden Goddess proudly walking around saying that we're exotical. I'm like, excuse me. And then same thing. There's exoticals in Latin America. And I'm like, well, time out. Why would you be proud of a word that is reference to a sexual fetish that basically just degrades you off of freaking rap music videos? It's like, come
Mm.
on now. It's like, it's like
Mm.
because I'm saying this again. It's like, and this goes back to what I say. That's why
So
that
we
law.
like take that identity
Yeah,
on, basically. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like we are fetishized, and it's like we take that on as like a badge of honor or something like that. Like that's like, oh, something to be
yeah,
proud of when it's
and
not. It's
that's and
mhm.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Is a bunch of ugly rappers who are projecting because they're not that good looking, so they like to crap on women or attractive. That's the way I
Yep.
see it. You just love
Okay.
and you look at, and it's funny today right now with the hip hop and rap. I mean, half the guys are coming out of the closet, and then the other half is a bunch of women blow up the charts right now. It's
Mhm.
literally a
Okay.
bunch of girls taking over. So,
I
they
agree.
it's gonna head to a big clash of disasters.
Mhm.
They know this is why these guys are promoting get out of Blackistan and leave as soon as possible. Get yourself a foreign wife and leave and live in a community together and blah 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 and have our little utopian whatever weird stuff. When in reality, it's like you still got that self hate, don't you? Because when I hear them talk, I notice that all these guys they tend to talk bad about the men in these countries. Now, for people out there, I can't understand you talk bad about me. You have every right to because of what I say. Okay? But what does
Mhm.
that have to do with Brazilian men? What did they do to you guys? They don't even talk to you. Right now it's about Argentinians being racist. What's like, wait a minute, hold
Mm.
up. None of y'all went to like, oh, there's a lot of Italian descent. Okay, fine, but you're not from Argentina. You never been there. You never talked to one in real life. What are you talking about? And they're like going on making videos slandering these other places and say how they're this and that. they do these streams,
That
and
happens
that's what
everywhere. They want to like demonize the men, just like it
yeah,
happens in our community, like black community, where it's like the light skinned men are demonized, but the light skinned women. So it's like that happens everywhere to divide the men and women, so they could just, it's weird. But let me read this comment real fast. It says American men
yeah,
at times take several seats back when it comes to their kids. Like, why are there so many mixed people? They don't have their white family to help them or see the truth. So that is true. Like a lot of these mixed kids,
yeah.
they're not really being supported by their white families whatsoever. Like their
Very
grandfathers and
true.
fathers, they're not being
Sad.
supported by them because there's internalized, there's racism there, there's all these different factors. They're probably mad at whatever happened, but they don't want to be involved in the child's lives a lot of the times, and
But,
that's unfortunate. It's really sad. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. So
but
especially when, okay, because I feel like here's another thing people don't really talk about. I feel like they'll be involved when it's a child, but when the child's like growing up, like teenager or adult, they don't want to really be involved anymore with them as like an adult, because the kids are cute. It was like it was a joke on Family Guy. It was like, all like these mixed race kids. I was like, yeah, they're cute when they're kids, but not when they grow up. Like, oh yeah, they're cute little kids. Oh, they're good, but when they grow up, it's like, oh, we don't really want to have nothing with them. Really, I kind of seemed like that with them when it comes to like a lot of
you
white
know
American
what's
families.
going
That
on with those households? Because what's
hmm,
going on in these households is a very tragedy thing. Because I've never touched on a child molestation going on,
yeah, there's a
the
lot of
child
that.
abuse going on, and that's where right there again you because when I first started hearing it, I was like, my first reaction was, well, that's everywhere, it's in my community too. And some girl said, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, this is actually pretty big. And they started talking
Exactly.
because at first I started connecting the dots, and then of course I had the people that I talk to who are mixed descent, and they're telling me what's going on inside their households and the
Hmm.
exact dates verbatim, how their mother would like be around. There'll be a mixed child. They put him around a bunch of pro-black people for some reason. The uncles don't want
Mm,
to talk to her, and then when they grow up,
creepy
and
uncle.
then they gotta
Mm,
like like you said, prove that you're not the stereotypical light skinned biracial
mm-hmm,
girl, and you gotta be a mammy
mm-hmm,
to dark skinned black when they actually hate your guts, want to beat you up, and it's like.
mm,
But my question is to that is like, wait a minute, hold up. That being said, why is your mom putting you in that situation? Like, what's going on? The same thing goes
mm,
to the biracial men. Biracial men with their black dads, they'll sit there talk, oh, their trauma, they grow up, what's my race? My question is, as if I was a dad, why are you allowing your son to go through all that trauma? And what was going to happen to him when he was going to grow up. You know already what they're going to do because there is jealousy. I don't
mm,
care what they say. A lot of black guys in this country, they are super jealous of those mixed children, and of course they come
mm,
up as they get older. When guys like girls and everything like that, or vice versa. You never know. They
mhm,
start getting up and say, he's the queer. Oh, he's don't talk to him. I already know what's going
mm.
up. I know
They
what's
like,
up with that.
yeah, they try to sabotage. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's
and then
weird.
and then you got the guy being okay. Then unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say this, but um, this is a sad reality. A lot of some of these biracial men, they end up becoming homosexuals because no one talks about this
Hmm.
also. But a lot of these black guys, they like the boys too, and they like that look, and then
Mm. They be
and
down
it's
low. They do.
yeah,
Mm.
no, they don't want to talk about that, and it's like, and it's kind
It's
of like
true. Why did
they
somebody said that? Shout out to Future. Future is golden said that. She was like, why are they hating on all these light skinned men? It probably has a lot to do with internalized homophobia. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they
they
try to
find
hate
them
on these men because
attractive.
they can't. Yeah. So it's like a
Oh
lot of
no,
internalized
for here,
homophobia
I
going
just
on.
love it.
So shout out to her. I think she hit the nail in the head right
I
there.
know, for here,
So
I just love it. You'd be surprised. I remember one time. If you don't believe me, this some people need to talk to these Dominican guys, and they'll start telling me stories. I got one guy, he's Dominican. He told me some weird stuff about some of these black guys. I'll be staring at him. Now, people are gonna say, "What do you mean stare?" I'm talking about a stare, as in like,
mhm.
yeah, I want to get in that. That's there,
Yep.
and that is, I said, that is really creepy. And you'd be surprised how a lot
Mm,
of guys have seen that and they thought this is absolutely weird, which is also weird to me on the East Coast. I see a lot of black guys going into like Dominican barbershops, but
mm-hmm,
I thought Dominicans were racist, and then they're trying to like
mm.
learn Spanish, and then
You know what somebody told me? I was on a live stream on TikTok. So I go on live stream on TikTok. It was an African dude. And he was trying to say, oh, whenever mixed people are the majority, then black people aren't happy. And he tried to bring up the Dominican Republic. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of dark skinned Dominican Republic Dominicans that are super proud to be Dominican. So I was like, if they're so unhappy, why they're really proud of their culture and where they come from. So that doesn't make
yeah,
sense. But they're trying to say that, oh, since mixed people are the majority there, that means black people are going to be oppressed and they're going to be they try to it's weird. It's weird. But let me read some of these comments real fast. Okay.
yeah,
It say like we're white man family members, but when white people in America are taught to be very passive and subordinate when it comes to race relations. True. And every Maria says every time I have ran into a white or black American guy in my country, if women are mentioned, they immediately talk bad about American women and compliment the local women. It's weird.
bingo.
True.
I heard
And somebody,
true.
yep, that's true, and that happens with black American men too. When they talk bad about black women, and then they want to go and compliment, and then all these mixed kids come about just because they hate their own
And
women. It's really
and
it's strange.
magic
Even
is not
mm-hmm,
magic. It's not even just black American or white American. It's everyone. It's like, oh, I don't want to get me this. I was so funny. I saw a black guy from the U.S. say this. Oh, I don't want to get this Latina. She's just so Americanized. I want to get the real Mexican girls over there. I was like, but you're
mm-hmm.
American, and it's like they're
They
doing
hate their
this.
own culture. They hate their own way
They're
of life.
they're
It's like
they're
they
doing
hate
this
it.
to every girl now, regardless of the race. Now, some black girls are realizing, wait a minute, they're. I thought black men want to date, but now it's like, wait a minute, you're attacking white women, you're attacking Asian girls here. You're like, wait a minute, I don't think you like them. I'm like, well, duh, I've been saying this for years. You guys really have. There is something going on here. We have to take a good look at it because, so you read, like they'll say how beautiful you are, and then shit on women here in America,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
And that
like,
needs to stop. Yeah, it's
and
weird.
that's very damaging. And the thing about
Mm-hmm.
it is, and of course, the saying goes, well, you get the same men that we get, which is also kind of like, no, that's inappropriate. You don't want, and I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of guys here in this country, they're lacking big time.
Mm-hmm.
They're
They
lacking,
created.
and
Look, Mulatta Northern Light said it. He said these men don't realize they created a culture they winded up hating, and that's hitting the nail on the head. You created a culture that you hate and that you want to escape from. Like, make it make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's
yeah,
crazy. Mm-hmm.
imagine. I keep
Mm-hmm.
saying this a long time ago. This whole dynamic about what's going on right now with the whole, the left and the right and what's family, whatever. This could all be fixed if these
It
men
can be
can.
fixed.
They chose not to. That's the thing.
Mm-mm.
They chose not to. It's like the whole thing with the whole, like, I just argued with the biracial guys one time. I told him, I said, I understand that, the community, I get that, but in general, most biracial guys in this country, they're not dating biracial girls. I've
Nope.
talked to countless biracial women. I said, "Whoa, you ever tried dating another biracial?" Oh, I've been waiting for one. And so what's happened? They're just dating a bunch of white girls and other girls, and they're not even looking at me because they see me as a black woman. I was like, what? And
Yep. Shout out to my new channel. Look, I made a new channel to address that. I wanted to be like a biracial life and dating coach so we could help like encourage dating amongst ourselves. And so shout out to my new channel. I'm gonna be talking about like dating topics, and I'm gonna be talking about, gathering resources for us to like, come together as families and how to work through our issues, all that. So shout out to my channel.
but
But anyways,
the
yeah,
reason
you're
why
right.
you don't really emphasize this because, and I said before, I say this again. I said this one time. My shout out to Daniel. He's Dominican that I talked to. He talked to a black American guy. Says, "Oh, what do you think about if I date your women?" He said, "Listen, it's not my business, but let me tell you right now, you are better off dating your own women and creating your own wealth, because that's the downfall. Because
Facts.
look what's going on with right now in Texas with white American guys. What a surprise! The two main groups of people They're talking about demographic change, and they're upset about that. Is black and white American guys? My response is, yeah, but both of y'all dating out on record numbers. You date out more than your own women. It's like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, but you guys, no, hold up. Mexican guys, Dominicans, Colombians, all these groups of Cubans, they really do stick to their own women, especially the ones that have money. And the thing is that what
Mm-hmm.
I propose is that, listen, you can't change who you date, that's fine. But I really do encourage these biracial guys to start dating and marrying biracial American women. By the way, I said biracial American, so don't sit there and tell me, "I'll go to Dominican Republic, get me a biracial." No, or I go to Brazil, there's a bunch of mixed biracial. No. That no, you're not gonna cop out like that. No. Get a biracial American girl, and there's a lot of them. And the thing about it is that it's sad to say that, but I've talked to too many of them. One is one particular that I talked to out of the Midwest. Shout out to her. She's told me repeatedly what's going on, and it's just, and she told me it's devastating because she told me we're so brainwashed. It's so sad because she told me that sometimes I can't trust other biracial women because Kem,
Yep.
we're really disbrainwashed. Like this,
Mm-hmm. To throw each other under the bus for
yeah,
approval or something like that.
like
Yep.
it's unfair to say that, but it's kind of like because what I have told people all the time is like, look, the solution is very like, leave these people alone, let them grow, and let them become a community, and that's the way I feel that's the solution. Have families, start small businesses, have your little community. Yeah, I mean, look, you could date. I get that, but listen, if you really think about it, look at other ethnic groups that are working, building stuff economically. Look at the Indians. Look at the Mexicans. Look at all the other groups of men. They're all sticking to their own women. They're all building economically, and they're growing. I mean, they're growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Mm-hmm.
really step back and think about that, folks. Really think about when was the last time you see a bunch of Mexicans with money dating a bunch of white American chicks? It's actually very, very small. It's not even happening like that.
Mm-mm.
No,
You know
it's
what's an issue? You know what's an issue with us though? So you
yeah,
know how some biracials are raised more in predominantly white areas, so they're more culturally white, versus some biracials. This is the case with me,
yeah,
at least. So my husband, he's biracial, so we have a biracial family.
yeah,
So he was more raised in like a predominantly black area. He's more culturally black, so he has more of a mindset like
yeah.
that. And then I was raised more predominantly in a white area. So there's even culture clash because, like I said, America is not united culturally. So even within America, if you're dating American, it's still hard to find somebody who you like are culturally compatible with because biracials were raised so vastly in vastly different environments. So they're probably not gonna understand each other. Even though I addressed that though, but I still think it could work because we're still American at the end of the day. But there is definitely culture clashes between white and black culture in
Black and
America.
whitewashing. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
And so that's
yeah.
definitely a struggle that prevents, biracial people coming together. Like if I'm more identified with the white side. But I think there's a solution to that. That's why I promote us just identifying as biracial instead of identifying with, being black or identifying with being white. Identify just being biracial, you're both, and then accept that and then find somebody else who identifies like that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
and,
and keep it moving,
and
right?
move forward. And any of these kids out
So it
there
doesn't
want to
turn
push.
into another white versus black war. Like we don't need that. Like we're trying to escape this whole white versus black war. Like we don't want to be in the middle of it. We don't want to be a part of it. We just want to be our own people, have our own community, and not be involved in these racial wars anymore that we didn't create. We're just a byproduct of them. So it's like we
Well,
didn't create this shit.
you know what's so funny about this? I always said before, like look at Dominican guys. Just look at those guys and look on the East Coast, especially the Northeast region, how they build economically, small business, everything. Those men, they
They
stick
getting
to their
money.
own, and
They
that's
getting
how
money.
they create the wealth. I know, like, oh, but the Dominican girls are dating out. Yeah, the women are. Dude, it's the men. The name, folks. The name. The last name. That's where it counts the most. I'm sorry. It's just the reality of it. The last name. And I'm sorry. Like for Indians, if you're not a Singh or a Patel, you know, if you got a Johnson last name, they're not like, what's this? No. The reality of it is that I really do tell people all the time, it's better to stick with your own and just work from that. And that's what My issue with these guys, the in this case the Black American guys that keep talking like this. I'm sorry to say this, but I just I don't feel sad about your sad stories. It's getting annoying. I don't care what happened to you back in 19. I'm sorry. You were even these guys were even born during that period. I'm sorry. It's like, this is ridiculous. They had to move forward, and I really wish these kids, history happened. Yes, move on. You have to move forward and look at the future and have a community and start building trade, and that's how you can do it. That's the where I can see that, but that's the thing, and it starts with the men. I keep saying this. It starts with the men, not the
Mm-hmm.
women. The men.
Mm-hmm. The men, they need to take responsibility. Somebody said that. Let me read some of these comments real quick. Okay, because somebody said, I hate that song by Timberland, The Way You Are, which basically a man saying, give me your body, even though I have nothing to invest in you, no job, no prospects, but love me the way I am. And then somebody said that's a good incentive. Makes people don't have enough opportunity to meet each other. That's definitely, we gotta start building apps. Like we got internet. We got the internet. We know we gotta use it appropriately so we can, we gotta start building apps. Like every year there's black meeting, there's Latino meeting each other. There's all these different dating apps for all these different people who want to date within their own, culture, I guess. So, but in America data statistics say people who identify as two or more races tend to date other people who identify as two or more races. So that's good. Why is it
That's
that when
good.
always a woman wanting to make incentives to unite and fix problems with the men are running away from their responsibilities? Yup. Somebody said you lie about biracial people. People will stupidly say that I date women like myself. It will be like dating my sister. And that's another thing. People shame us for dating each other. Like, oh, you're dating. You guys look like brother and sister. So that's another psyop that people, because they
that
don't
to
want us to
me
come together and build a
that's weird.
community. They don't want that. We're viewed as a threat. Like people say this to us all the time. We're viewed as a threat. So they don't want us coming together to build. So that involves us coming together and creating families. So that's viewed as a threat. They don't want that. But say I looked up searching for something else. All the mulattoes tend to be social justice warriors for other races. Facts. Facts. Somebody said, why is he advising mixed race groups? Every mixed race man I know is very attracted to mixed race women, which is good. Yep, we gotta date each other. Well, black people make poverty their culture and everyone can participate in that. Whereas other cultures, as if Cinco de Mayo, oh they do. Lunar year, Christians, everyone can participate in that. Men carry the last name and want to continue the culture. It doesn't really matter if women date out, but Black American culture is set up. If you are born in poverty or in the hood, you are included in the culture. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's not married. Okay. But sorry, it said marry, not date. Yeah, we need to marry each other. But yeah, these are some good points people are making. But yeah, I do think that the men definitely need to step up. Like somebody said, they're attracted to these women, so we need to act on it. We need to make sure we're dating and marrying each other and building together. And men are building themselves up first, right? You got to have something to you got to have yourself built up first before you can offer a woman anything, right? So
Yeah, you
that's very
cannot.
important because I think that we have to, because like what Mulatta Northern Lights said, a lot of the culture a lot of the culture and like Black American culture is like, oh, you got to love me even though I don't have anything, even though I have nothing, whatever, just come and build. But other men of other cultures, they make sure they get their money first, so they have like something to offer their family, so they could raise and take care of their family. So that's something we need to reject, like this culture of, oh, even though I don't have any money, I'm broke, I don't have anything, oh, you're still obligated to love me and take care of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, men need to take up to the responsibilities. Like, men are supposed to provide and protect, like, period. So that's what I want biracial men to start doing, making sure they're taking care of their responsibilities as men, and they're building and they're providing for their families. So yeah.
Magic. I remember we talked earlier about something previously that you told me that I asked you like about most biracial women here in this country. Didn't you say that the vast majority of them actually just date like black guys, for example? You said that, right?
It's weird because I think that, how people say, oh, you usually date somebody who reminds you of like your father. So I think most biracial women have like black fathers. So they're pushed to date like black, or they're raised in black environments. So it depends on the environment, really.
Yeah.
If you're in a black environment, you're going to probably date black people. If you're in a white environment, you're going to date white people. So it's like
And
we
by the
don't
way,
have an environment where there's a lot of biracial people, you know?
by the way, I want to say something also is standard beauty thing. That knows the F out of
Mhm.
white. And people ask me, people don't look like me. They're on TV and all that stuff. I tell people all the time, listen, that's like me saying, how come there's no beaners on TV? And the thing is that it's not the job because we like it or not, the standard of beauty in this country is white and black American males. They are the standard of beauty, and it is not
Mhm.
their job to uplift me. That's not their job. So, am I upset the fact that I see a bunch of black American guys trying to act like heroes and fighting drug cartels and beating up a bunch of Mexicans? I laugh at that as a comedy show, but I tell people all the time that that's what they could do here. Or it's the white guy get the foreign chick, and he's like the cool. And unfortunately, a lot of girls in general, because we look at the images right now of actors, musicians, or anything like that, rappers, athletes, it's really just black and white guys. So you know, obviously, I'm not included because people like me are not on TV that looks like me, right? As an example, right? But I tell people they got away with this for a long, long time because they push. You know, I give an example of this. It's either girls watching TRL or girls watching BET or 106 Park when they're growing up. It's either you're blackwash or you're whitewash, and I can say that because I actually went to a majority all white school, so I know the programming going on. Trust me on this. I always say the same story. I remember me going to all white school and they'll force me that the girls from OC are hot. They'll literally will sit there and say, these girls are super attractive, they're so good looking, and I can't believe it, and blah, blah, blah. Just like I go to an all black school, all of a sudden people will sit there and tell me, Lauren London is super hot, whatever. And she's a cute girl, whatever. But then they start going off about the men, right? They start talking about Little Wayne's a good looking guy, and the guys from Dawson Creek are good looking guys, and One Tree Hill here, and there's the hill, and there's Baldwin Hills, and it's like, and that's where you start to see, like, and I'm sorry, it's a lot of programming here in this country, okay, and that's why you get the whole black and white thing because that's the image,
Yep.
because I saw this too, growing up, because I was like, you know, and that's what girls were seeing. So when they're growing up, you're like, oh, I saw, they're just dating, black and white guys, which I tell people that's okay. That's okay. That's your programming. That's understandable. This is their country, okay? And this is what people need to realize. And I try to tell them
Mhm.
all the time, it's important for people to understand. You got to get, your own image out there. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, when it comes to the the biracial girls, whatever in this case, they have always been put as the Jezebel quadroon kind of sex slave. And you
Mhm.
made a very good point about how back in the day, I forgot this, they're pimping out all the biracial mixed girls out. These were white boys doing
Mhm.
the quadroon balls. Now we're in 2023, and the past decade and a half, we had these guys, these who are now who's the new pips, the black guys, and who they're pimping out, all these mixed chicks, all these biracial mixed chicks, and my response to that is, wow, man, you guys, this black American male, he loves white men. He really loves white guys. Like he's mimicking what this guy does. And and one who said that? That was radical. And that was one part I was like, Hamster Boy, he's right about that. I'm not gonna say I totally agree a lot of things, but he's actually was right about that. You do mimic. It's like the white man's coming out of you, man. And whether you like it or
Mhm.
not, black and white American guys, as much as they want to go bumping heads with each other, these
They're
guys
very
have to
similar.
relate to each other.
They're very similar because they've been around each other how many years? Centuries.
Four
Centuries.
centuries.
So it's
Four
like, yeah, I
centuries.
definitely do think that a lot of it is rubbed off on the black. Definitely. I agree. I agree. And it's like, we don't want that anymore. Like, I don't want biracial women being pimped out by this community. We want our own community where we're respected as human beings, and we're not sexually fetishized, and we're not being used and abused by this group of men who don't really see us as a part of their community. Like, that's why it's so important that, for especially for biracial women, that we have a community of our own men who are not going to treat us like that, who are not going to just try to sexualize us and pimp us out, or actually going to marry us and have children with us and actually, give a damn about us and not just use us for whatever reason. Because they, what they do in the black community too. They use us to try to replace black women. It's like, oh yeah, these women are black and I gotta be a black queen. I remember Tyrese. Oh my god, he got a lot of backlash because of that. Because he had this barely. She was like 40% black. She had to be like or 30% something. She was barely, but she looked very very light. And then he's talking about, oh, this is my black
Wait, is she
queen. This is my
Latina?
black queen. No, she
Yeah,
was
the Latina
mixed. She was
girl.
white and
Oh,
black, but he got so much backlash from that. Like, oh, because they know that a lot of, and I'm against that. I don't want to, on my platform, I'm all about like, I'm not trying to replace black women because I don't want to do that. Like, I want to make sure I have my own identity. Black women have their own identity, and we're not trying to take their identity from them. And so y'all can say, oh yeah, I got me a black queen, but she's actually a mixed race woman. She's not,
and
so that's something
that
that
opens the
is
door.
so heavily programmed that it's like, oh, the women are black, but the mixed race men, they're not black. So it's like they're always trying to push that identity for us so they could try to replace black women. And I'm against that, so that's something that
And let
needs to
me
be
tell you
pushed back
something right
on
now. You know
a
what they
lot.
do now? You know what they do now? The black women copycat their men, saying, "Okay, well, then you just see the father. Then who carries the womb?" So I'm a black woman who has gets a white man because let's see for real. Because when they do date, it's going to be a white guy because white and black men are only the two main groups are dating out in record numbers. Um,
Hmm.
the thing is that when they get a white guy, they'll sit there and say, okay, I have my quote unquote mixed child, but he'll be seen as black and be pro black identified. And then they kind of forced the kid to date nothing but dark skinned black women. I've heard that several times from these kids that told me that my mom will get angry and say, why don't you get this black woman here? She's so beautiful. Get this black girl. She's dark skinned. She's beautiful like me. And it's kind of like, I was like, did you tell her that,
I
you're
got
mixed? Huh?
I got a story about that too. I remember, when I was dating my husband, so his family is like his older siblings are full black, right? So they're his nieces and nephews. I remember I was overheard a conversation one time and they're like, oh, why doesn't he date black women? Like they were mad that, that he got with me instead of like a fully black woman. And it was like weird, so but he's mixed race, he's biracial himself. So
And
yeah,
and you know
that's the
what's
thing.
creepy about that? Since there's so many black women who are single, and this is where I say they treat like their boyfriends, it does make sense now. A lot of these women do see their sons as boyfriends, and some of these sisters feel the same way. This is don't take my man away from me. I'm like, but you're the sister. What are you? And that's where it starts getting to more because therefore you're hitting an avenue of okay, what's really going on in these households, like what's going on here, like why are you treating him like the boyfriend? That's really creepy.
Hmm. Their husband. That's like emotional incest. That's what that's called. Like
That-
enmeshment. Like there's all these terms for these things that go on in these households, and I do think that we need to take a careful look about what's going on within these households because the results. Look at the results of what's going on. So
yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely. But do you want to open up the convo for people to come in? You guys want to
well, it curse me
open up the
out.
convo? Nobody's gonna curse you out.
Okay, they can, you can start the cursing out. Yeah, why not?
But I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna have Jake drop the link. So if anyone want to come in, um,
Yeah,
talk about it.
something people are telling me, well, I'm seeing right now, but something, the main thing is um the issue that I see here is that people don't understand, like, well, why are you talking about this? Because whatever problems is dragging here in the States, you're not dragging this to us. And it's annoying. And I
Mhm.
hate being lectured.
It's affecting other cultures and other communities. So, and this
Yeah,
is
and it's
the
like
root of it, right?
yeah, and it's like, you talk about, other groups of people and it's like, they're pushing that crap and I'm like and I see it because unfortunately, a lot of black and I'm sorry to say this, but most of the time the mixing between Latinos, it's really just it's mostly Latino women with non-Latino dads. And I
Mhm.
always like this question I always ask. I said, the because they always keep saying that we're self-hating. I do include the black men from Latin America. Notice the biracial children. How many biracial children have black Latino fathers?
Not so much. It's usually a Black American dad most of the time.
Yeah, that's where I tell people, yeah. So don't give me this whole these men down there are colorist, because if that was the case, because there's a bunch of them here in the states, why they're not, but you are, because now all of a sudden
Mm,
they want to be hotep and say I want to get my black family from Brazil. Well, it's like, okay, but how many black Brazilian men are marrying black American girls here? Or white Americans? It's not that many. That to me is something like, okay, there's something going on, because I seen their offsprings and they're a mess. They're a mess.
mm-hmm.
And this is because of what? That's right, parents. The
Mm-hmm.
father. And I'm sorry, I can't speak for a woman because I don't have a vagina. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why I hate when men bitch, sorry, point a finger at women. I'm sorry. This is the fault of men. This is the
Mm-hmm.
fault of men. They have dropped the ball. They have self control. They're the heads of the households. I don't care what poverty line you're at. Doesn't matter. You are the man in charge, and the way the global world works, when someone enters your home as a man, who are they gonna talk to first? It's not your wife. Your wife can, be the guest in front of the face, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna talk to the man of the household. And it's just them, screwing everything up. It's their fault. I'm sorry. I hear too many of these guys. You heard them to other streams. They'll sit there and point fingers, and I'm gonna say the following. I'm sorry, but you're men. This is your fault, and you got a problem with that. Talk to your own man, or talk to your dads, because it's just too much. Because if I had a son and he had identity issues, then I will feel hurt. And that's another thing that's very hurtful. It's like, where are your dads? Like, why are they not sitting down with you and talking? This is who you are as a man, and be proud of who you
Mm-hmm.
are.
We
Where,
lost.
where,
They lost all the cultural. There's no culture here. There's no cultural values. Everyone's just out for themselves. Everyone's just slaving away. The family values are gone. It's gone.
yeah.
Like it's messed up. And like you said, it is a responsibility of men. But I don't really have much faith that men are going to be like, oh, let's turn this around. Let's start building our own. Let's fix this. I don't really have much faith in that, honestly. So it's like, how are we going to navigate this? Like, how are we? These men, they're self-loathing. They're going to go and try to run to other countries and other communities instead of fixing their own, and they're going to create all these mixed kids all over the place. And
Well, you
how
know
do
what's happening
we?
right now, right? What's happening
Mm-hmm,
right now, because I tell people all the time, welcome down to Latin America. You're not going to be, because if you talk to Maria here, they're being screwed over big time. They're getting beaten up, they're getting robbed, they're getting drugged. They're not coming home. Some are coming home back in coffins. And I'm
mm,
sorry to say that, but this is what's happening down there. And that's just the reality. I tell all these guys, like, you're gonna go to Colombia and do what? Okay, fine, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna get robbed. You're gonna get scammed. These girls don't like you like that. Come on now, like, look at you, look at your face. Like, this is ridiculous. You're gonna get screwed over, and that's the reality of it. And that's why these guys are doing this. They're going to hurt. I always tell girls, don't worry about it. They're gonna get screwed over eventually, because the writing's on the wall. And one of the dudes I talked to was, where's Wes? He's Asian American, self-loathing, hates Chinese women, and now he had his Colombian girlfriend. Bragged about he got a Colombian girlfriend. Now she divorced him, and now he's talking about going back to the U.S. Oh well, you know,
well, oh well. But okay, so
you know,
here's what us as like, okay, because everyone's always like, oh, you biracials, we're the future. We're the future of America.
yeah,
Most of the majority of America is going to be mixed race by 2050 and all this stuff. So what
yeah.
we have to do, I think that what we have to do, we have to learn from this. We got to learn from people's mistakes. Like I really want biracial men to, like, if they don't like their community or their culture that we're building our own community now. We're in the midst of it. We're starting it. If they don't like it, they just fix it. Like we can't just run away from our problems. We can't do that. Like we can't take on that mindset that if you just run away, that's just gonna solve all your issues and problems. Like no, we got to be stronger than that. Like we gotta learn from this. Like this, what black men and white men are doing, we gotta learn what not to do from them. So we got to make sure that in our communities
If you
that.
don't believe me, go look at what's going on right now with black and white American households right now, and look how these guys on even online are acting. It's just them just berating, and it's like very childish, and that's the sad thing, because that's not something that you think that's like normal, but it's
Mhm.
happened. So
What's up, JorJor? So, what you think about this topic?
Well, the thing is that the past always catches up to you, or whatever your particular past
Mhm.
is. So, like, if you're going to really run from your problems, it's going to come back to you at some point down the line. And whoever
Facts.
you really get with, I don't know, like whether it's your lover or something, something is going to come up, and you're going to actually have to face it like a real man. Let's just put it bluntly in
Period.
that respect.
Be a man about it. Be a man, because people are trying to run away. People are trying to use like interracial dating and all these different things, passport, to run away from their problems. But you can't outrun your own. You can't outrun yourself. If you're the problem, you can't. Wherever you go, there you are.
oh
So
oh my god, I forgot to say this. I'll say right now. There's that guy that you're talking to named Kevin C. That guy right there is such a hypocrite. I remember in the streams, he used to have a channel talking. He used to bash American females and talk about women as stargates. Where's your stargate? And he talked,
Stargate.
yeah. And then but then he's hypocritical. I remember he criticized you, but it was so funny because this is a man does not like Black American females. Went to Honduras, got a quote unquote Afro Honduran girl, lives in Honduras, but then he wants to lecture you about biracials are black people. But I'm like, but you're not dating even your own women from the US. It's like, how are
Mhm.
you going to lecture what's biracial in the history when you're not even in the US now? You're you're not dating your own FBA women.
Yep. Yep. And it's like it's a mess. It's a mess because when he talked to us, he was saying, blackness is like a mindset. You got to know the history, you got to know the culture, you got to know everything. So it's like it's terms and conditions when it comes to like being accepted into blackness, but at the same time, it's like people run away from it. They run away from their own culture. They run away from their own communities. So it's
Yeah,
just
prime example.
we're supposed to fight for the black community while everyone's running away from it. Like, how does that work? We're expected to
Well,
fight
the
for it.
way the
Yeah,
way it works is that you have to end up overcompensating and being the loudest in the
yeah.
room, being more
It's
pro
like,
black than black people
how does that work?
themselves. But look at what that does to you.
We're supposed to, we know that we were all like 99% of us, besides you, Jordan, was pro black at one time. We all know the history. We all know everything. We know it. We were there fighting, and we're supposed to do all that while everybody's like getting up, getting their passports, and running the fuck away from their own women, from their own culture, from their own community. So it's like we can't save the black community. We can't do it. If black people are not
Magic.
willing to fight and save it themselves, biracial people, we can't do it. We can't. Like I used to have that savior complex. Like, oh, I want to save it. I want to fix everything. A lot of us did, but it's like it's a task that people are trying to put on us and use all of our privileges and light skin privileges to uplift the black community while people are running away from it. So it's
That's
just
just
it
your own ego
doesn't work.
speaking, though. But your own ego is going to be the death of you. Like coming in here with this whole saviors complex, that's just ego talking. Is ego going to save the black
And then
community, though?
people want to be mad at us because we want to have our own community, and it's not to run away from the black community. Like, that was not the intentions. People want to say, oh, you want to separate from blackness. No, I love my black community. I still consider myself a part of the black community. Of course, I'm always going to be half black. My mother's black. I love black people. I love black community. And it's like that's not even the intention. The whole intention for us to have our own community, so we can have a space for us to like have people who relate to us. And people are always trying to project onto us. I'm like, we're not the ones running away. You guys are the ones running away. We're not running away from our
And that's
blackness. You
and that's
guys
another
are.
thing
Okay.
too. Because you're the offsprings of black and white. There's nothing wrong being white too, of white European descent either. And that's something
We're
that
both.
these
Yeah, we're Euro
this
African.
is
We're Euro
something
African people.
this is yeah, this is something that's sad about this is because the fact is to me when they say that you're part of this, you're part of that. No. If you're a biracial American, this is where you like regardless if you want to hear this or not, those biracial American females, those are your women. And that's the thing I try to tell people all the time. And I do encourage a lot of these biracial guys. I'm not saying not all, and that's okay. It's gonna happen, but I say I'd rather you guys prefer and date and economically build to become you know to become a actually a certified ethnic group. It comes with economics, and the thing is, if you don't want to look any no further, then just look at Black Americans. What happened to them since they've been pushing interracial dating onto themselves, and these like literally just look what's going on economically with them. They're a disaster. I mean, we could talk about other ethnic groups that this happened to. I'm not saying be all pure. I'm not saying that at all. It doesn't say like that. But if you look at what's going on, it does matter in that concrete. And this is why I keep saying to people all the time, well, what's the solution? Leave them alone. Let them grow. Let them figure it out on their own. Let them grow economically. So therefore, they can have an economical foundation. So therefore, I can make money with them and trade with them and make trade deals with these people. And that's how it works. Do you think I actually want Black America to be all poor and just sad and depressed? No. No other ethnic group wants that. Same for the white Americans. No, we want all prosperity, right? But the thing is that I think what's happening now, I think that whole inclusivity stuff is just not working. That whole we are all the same and we are all one.
It's not working.
It's
It's
just
not
not.
working. Exactly. I think that honestly, because so many people are so against us having our own identity that they're saying, "Oh, you're dividing us. You're segregating us even more." But it's like I honestly believe that race relations, because we're our own race. Like we're created. We're not black. We're not white. We're our own race. So it's like I think that race relations will actually improve if we have our own identity that's respected versus us being lumped in all together, but still being treated different and still being treated, like you're one of us, but not really. But we just say you are,
It's
but you're not.
already
But
happening.
but
You
the
know what it
actions and the
is?
words don't match. That's the thing. Like it's like you say we're one of us, but your actions don't match. Because anytime when anybody's winning or anything, it's like, oh, even that whole even the Super Bowl. I remember when the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, it was like it was like biracial versus it was like weird narrative around that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, we're one of you, but at the same time, when it's convenient, we're not. So that does not work. It does not work. Let's just admit, respect differences and keep it moving and just call it that. I
You
don't
know
see
the
why that's such an issue with
you
people.
know what
That's
it
so
is
scary to
also.
people to respect people's differences. I don't understand that. It's
Well,
weird.
going back to what I said earlier, though, is that what's going to happen if Patrick Mahomes were to become a representation of Black beauty? Are the Black community going to say that this is the
Yeah,
first
no,
Black
that's not a
man
black man all of a sudden. All of a sudden, that's not a
to
black man
ever win
anymore.
any or to ever gain any accomplishment in the
White
NFL?
privilege. White privilege. That's the thing. That's the solution. White privilege. And it's it's really sad because the thing is that the way things are structured here in the United States as a whole. Um, everyone's trying to find a group. And I understand that because and people mention about the other ethnic like the Arabs and everything. They don't, to be honest with you, they don't even need a category. They are there. They have businesses. They got a
Hmm.
religion. They got a language. Arabic. Same thing with the Hispanic, Latino. They already have their own groups. They got their own flags. It's there. They have businesses. This is why I try to tell people. That's really what's really important. And the thing is that unfortunately, particularly with Black and White Americans, I think both of these groups. I think the mistake they made, really, they bought into a whole inclusivity and we are all one, and it's like biting off the dust. It's like it's not working. I mean now, it's just they're it's just not working, and they don't understand that people need to stop and hold back and like wait a minute, like what's really going on. And what I try to tell people very basically is that, while you guys are all support integration, basically, these other ethnic groups coming in, they are coming in, they're not even involved in that stuff, and look how they're growing. I mean, for crying out loud, look at Qatar, look at the Middle East. They're buying literally lands off of Texas right now. They're not thinking about integration. They're not thinking about marrying. They're not thinking about color. They're thinking about we're gonna buy land. Look at what's going on in China. What's going on in other look at and they don't they're just all focusing on whether or not who's gonna date who. Um,
They're focused on building their own communities. They're
yeah,
not focused on nothing else. Like people are we. It's like us as American, we got our priorities all wrong. We do, and we got to focus on building, especially. But I can only focus on my own community. So we got to focus on our own communities, building, and
yeah.
making sure the people in our communities are taken care of. And I'm all about respecting other cultures and other communities as well because
Oh
we're a
yeah.
multicultural country. So we have to do that as well. And that's it. Like that's what we got to do.
You know, you
That's
know,
what we got to do.
you know what's so sad? People tell me like, yeah, I'm racist. Like in real life, this is how it is. I leave white Americans alone. I leave black Americans alone. Let them be. If just I walk my way, they do their thing. It doesn't bug me. But I really do feel like this whole integration thing, it's really not working, and it's biting
Hmm.
both these communities off the butt because you cannot sit there and tell me that you are and I know George probably knows about some of those neo like the nationalists, the white nationalists, they're all pro white, but they're just not in the bedroom. It's like Mr. Pro Black, um, and it just doesn't take nothing seriously. Um, a lot of these guys are constantly, and I said before many times, this is the part where men have failed. They they prioritize building over sex, and no, sorry, they prioritize sex over building. And this is what's happening.
Yes.
And this is what's happening. And look what's happening. And while this is happening, these other groups of people are coming right in and just opening shop. I'll guarantee you about these Venezuelans, whether like this or not. Okay, those Venezuelan people, the men, are going to build. They have little shops. I'll guarantee you that virtually all those men are going to date their own, and they're gonna have their sons run those shops, and they're gonna grow more and more, and they're gonna wonder what happened to the black community over there in Chicago. I'm like, well, they're building while you guys are worried about weaves and hair and all this stuff, and what's light skin, what's dark skin. While y'all having these talks, these guys are coming right on in and just opening coffee shops. It's like they're owning all this stuff. They're buying property. I heard these guys talk. Oh my God, the Mexicans are coming in. I see them fixing them homes. I'm like, so what were you doing when the homes were all fucked up? Sorry, screwed up. Where were you in Detroit? Where were you? And it's like people really need to. These guys, particularly these two groups, they need to sit down. They need to sit back and realize, wait a minute, like we're really doing this backwards because for the biracial guys out there, you need to step back and say, wait a minute, they're screwing things up. What can I learn not to do and implement this where I'm gonna
Exactly.
start my own where I start my own stuff because that
Exactly. We can't just sit here and focus on sex, 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 and just dating, dating. No, build, build, build. Let's build. Like that's we gotta learn what not to do. Exactly. Let me read some of these comments real quick. It said, by Maya said, "Hey Maya, biracial people need to stop letting black and white people dictate who the fuck we are. Biracials need to distance themselves." Oh, and Duke said, Kim said biracials wish they were Latin, like they're inferior. Damn. I remember you saying that about me. You were like, "Oh, you trying to cosplay as a Latina and all this shit." But sad, but it's okay. I forgive you. But that's neither here nor there.
well that's something that it needs to be said. And like I'm gonna say this again, like the whole thing about the box about the biracial, there should be a census and all that stuff before. I said that's already there. You're created. You are the census. You're walking around. You cannot deny your existence. So you don't. This is why in Mexico we really had a census. And yet, like we know who we are. Like, yeah, and then they had a census one time. Oh my God, these recognized black people for the first time since 2000. They've been hiding them. Like, no, they've been there for almost a century and a half. What are you talking about? But they don't want to hear that. And this is the part that I keep saying is that I'm gonna keep saying this again. While these people are arguing online, for example, or even in real life, while you're doing this, you have other groups of people coming in, owning shops, owning grocery stores. You, Magic, you're a mother. Like, You're
Mm-hmm.
walking around. You're a woman. You see, wow, look at all these Mexican stores. Look at all these grocery
Yep.
stores. Look at
They be
all
owning. Be owning. They be running businesses. That's true.
Cambodian town and freaking Long Beach. And people are. You know what's something that's so sad about this? These guys, they're really this dumb that they crap on women. Um, Magic. Who shops in these grocery stores?
Women.
Exactly. So why would you just screw up your customer base?
I agree with that. I agree with that. Women,
Why
we got
would
to
you
go
do
grocery
that?
shopping. We got to get stuff for our kids. We got to. I said that too. They're building stuff for their women, so that women can be provided for, so they can have grocery
Rest-
stores and they can have all this stuff,
Restaurants,
restaurants.
lounges. Yeah,
Yeah, so they could build stuff for their women. So we need to do the same thing. Like we need to learn like what to do, what not to do in order to truly like build. If we really want to be,
yeah,
because yeah, I get your point. Like you don't need a census to like recognize their existence. I agree with
here.
that. You don't need that, but I think we are fighting for that a little bit in America
Yeah,
because there's a lot of funding and stuff that goes into that. But I
yeah. I
do
can
think that
see.
we can't wait around. We got to start now. We got to
Well,
start now
yeah.
before anything.
You two, just alone, just you existing. Why do I need a paper that say you exist? You're here. You're breathing.
Mhm.
Like, think
Mhm.
about that. It's like that's the way I see it. And I get what you're trying to say, people out there, but the reality of it is this needs to start now. And like you said, you're networking online and all that stuff. And and as for the guys, particularly, listen, like I said before, you can always get involved in the labor industry. You can create things, on stuff. That's the listen. I'm in construction. I do hardscaping and everything. Do you think those Mexicans are walking around with suits and ties walking around? No, they're actually building. Literally, they're building stuff. They're literally building stuff, and that's how my father taught me, and that's why I keep it my profession because we're third generation.
Well,
Because
I'll tell you this, man. I'm in labor, so I know exactly
yeah,
what you're into. I do it
yeah,
too.
and you know something, where you like it or not, those guys, you like it or not, that's that's actually the heartbeat of America. Is those guys and those men out there um that work their asses off in this profession because it's not an easy profession. um if you want to build a foundation, I would say it starts with a shovel. And I'm telling you right now, if I feel like if those type of guys will stand up and say that and just like, I'm gonna get myself in this industry, I'm gonna learn my craft, I think it starts right there. Because if you really think about it, if you look at China, for example, how they built up their economy, the first people that started doing up their economy after the wars was the labor people. Then it became the suit people. Then now currently is the scientists and engineers.
We got to start with the
And
ground up. I like that because
yeah,
look,
yeah,
somebody said, I think Al said, he said, biracial people are not an independent ethnic and racial group. So comparing mixed race people to immigrants from nation states is irrelevant and laughable. But I think we're working to become one. We're working to become our own independent like ethnic group. So that's the whole goal, right? So it's like we got to take notes from other people who are doing it and have done it,
Malak, Malak, Malak,
right?
Malak. Let's be for real. I'm gonna say right now, you guys are already your own ethnic group automatically.
We are. That's what I'm saying. We're working to
Automatically,
become,
just
and we're working
if
to
you are
build.
breathing and you're walking around with two eyes or whatever, or you're walking around breathing and denying your exist, that's stupid. No, no, you are automatically here. You are existing. You already are a group. Like biracial Americans is a group. It's a fact. It's not a
We're
mysterious
already, yeah,
thing.
exactly. We're already our own group right now, and we're just
And
working on building.
yeah, there you
Labor
go.
is menial work, not professions. Doctors, no, but we need labor. We need people building. The labor is menial work, not a profession. Doctors, laborers, engineer, architects are professional laborers. But we need that. We need somebody building houses in our communities. We need somebody plumbing. We need the electricians. Like that's
You see
they're
that,
like
George?
essential. They're very essential. So it's not menial work. I don't consider labor and construction people like menial work.
On the contrary, though, it's
Every
not
industry
menial
is
work at
needed,
all, though, because
exactly.
this industry is actually not really for everybody. By the way, so actually, no,
It's not for
you
everybody.
actually you actually have to do a lot of problem solving, like when you're doing things like carpentry.
Yeah.
You need to really know how to measure. Like even when you're doing flooring, you still have to know how to measure, especially if you're doing vinyl flooring. I'm like, okay, come on, calling that menial work. Well, why don't you come
It's
over here and do it?
it's not
Because
menial work.
menial means that even like a 5-year-old could do it, or
We
like a
should
monkey
respect
could be turned,
everybody. Like,
or like a
yeah.
monkey could be
Right
trained to do
there.
something like that. I'm like,
Thank you. Thank you.
that's just disrespectful to say that
No,
we do
Yeah, it's
menial
not
work.
menial work. We
If
need.
that were the
I
case, though,
respect
I
all
would
these
not,
professions.
because
Yeah.
so actually that needs to be called out, because first and foremost, I get paid very well to do what I do. Not to boast about that. You're not going to be paid that well for menial work. Just saying.
well,
Yep. Yep.
It's
Georgia,
disrespectful. You're getting
Even
called
people
out
like
for
me. Look, I
disrespect.
work in like customer service. I worked in the restaurants industry. People would call what I do menial work. But I think that's very. I want us like how Mexican they own restaurants. It's like that's not menial. Like I want to be able to own our own restaurants in our own communities one day too. We need to. Everybody need to eat. That's not remedial. That's important that we have those type of bit like grocery stores and like the whole food industry. Like people would call that remedial work, but I think it's very important. I think we should not disrespect people based on them doing like labor like that. So yep.
let me add something about that. See right there, that's that American coming out, because I'll tell you why. They're immediately thinking, because it's the first world nation thinking that it's white collars. You gotta wear a suit and tie. If you're not, you're not respected. And that's the thing where it's kind of like the downfall. We're telling us right now. You want to be honest with you? Listen, AI is destroying a lot of white collar businesses. They're telling young
Mm-hmm.
kids now, don't go into this profession. It's a die. Get into carpentry. Get into air conditioning and heating systems.
Yep.
Get involved
Havoc.
like plumbing. People think that, and you know what I'm talking about, man. Like they think, oh, this is just this menial. Excuse me. You know how much it costs to install a heating, air conditioning, in a house? You know how much that thing cost?
Mm-hmm.
It is not.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I just spent time just cutting a tree. You know how much money I made just cut off a tree? How about this?
Mm-hmm.
$8,000 the past 2 days. And you can
Mm.
reciprocate, and best who my employees are. They're all Hispanic people. You can do that. And the thing is, this is the problem. This is the reality of it. A lot of these kids, man, they don't want to work. They don't want to work. There's no effort
Mm.
involved. I talked to my friend Steven Rose. He's half white and half Mexican. His dad's white American. Even he told me about white Americans of that age now. He's 24 years old. They're lazy. They're not motivated to work. And that's why I tell people all the time, this goes back to the home. Unfortunately, doctors they're also important too. Engineers are also important too. But what I'm saying is the foundation is a shovel on the ground. You gotta look in that thing. Who built that? Who is building that road? When you step outside, when you drive on your concrete, who's building those sidewalks? Who is building those new buildings? Who? Who's doing that? You think it's just what? Just random people? Those are men that are building. That's why I keep telling people the foundation is what? You know, a shovel in
The
the
shovel.
concrete. Who's gonna put
Mm-hmm.
it? That's and for him to say carpentry, that's also an important profession too. Who's gonna install carpets? Who's gonna install windows installations? They make it out this is all like, poor man's jobs. Excuse me? Window installation? Roofing? You think these are poor professions?
Mm-hmm. These are
No, no,
important.
oh no, no. You have no. That's how George. You tell me not. That sounds like a person that does not own a home. That does not sound like a person that owns a home. Because if you're a homeowner, you know how much it costs to fix up a roof. And it's
I do that because I am going to be actually helping my mother pay off her mortgage. Is it cheap? Absolutely not. You
no.
need a job to be able to do that and bring in some good money.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to pay her off with just menial work, because actual menial jobs are not going to pay you enough to pay off anything. It's essentially cheap labor that, like I said, that
Yeah.
probably a cockroach or a monkey or I don't know, a caterpillar could do.
Mhm.
So honestly, I just have to respectfully disagree with that. And then plus, like being a lawyer, all those other things, that's just not really for everybody. It's not my forte, but good luck to anybody who wants to pursue that. But I think the Lord has different plans for me. And so far, it's been working out very well.
Everyone has their own part. No
I'd
doubt
rather
about
I'll
it.
take as from a woman, I'll take me a hardworking man that can build something any day. Okay, I'll take that any day of the week. You could build me a house. You could build me a porch. You could build me all of that. That's very attractive. That's very manly.
How about I
And I
help
think it's
you?
manly. It's
Well,
good.
how
I
about
don't
I
know.
help
I think
you?
that
Yeah,
men good. Go
I'll
ahead.
help
Sorry.
you and your husband installing some new flooring. You want vinyl
Yes.
flooring,
Yes.
or if you need
Men that know
like
how to
your,
build.
or if you need like
That's very attractive.
courier
I know men like.
services, yeah. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you want like
Yo,
furniture
George,
delivery and you want them all assembled, yeah, call me.
George, I was gonna ask you another question. You know the
Mm-hmm.
biggest clientele in our industry. You know what it is, right? It's women.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
a lot.
women.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
Let me get me a man that's gonna build something. Yeah, definitely. Like
I do
for sure.
patios. I do patios. It's nothing but just women as the
Mm-hmm.
clientele, and they're
Dude,
the
that's
ones
true.
they got. And yeah, this is why I don't like this female bashing. Because if I was Black American, I heard these guys bashing women. I'm like, excuse me, how can I make money with you when you're shitting on your women? Because they're your customers. What are you doing? How can I make money with you? And same with some of these white guys now. Like, how can I make money with you with this attitude? Like
Mm-hmm.
other men see this stuff. I know, and George's here, if I'm pronouncing it right, that he's in his profession too. Now I can see why. He knows, like, if you're not working, don't even talk to me. I got time. I don't have time for this. Time is money. Because if you're in this industry, and by the way, you know something? Once upon a time, back in the day, once upon a time, all the white guys, they were all poor one time. Who built your wealth? That's right, the workers did. And throughout the generations, they build, build, build. Go look at history. Go look what's going on in South Korea. How they
Mm-hmm.
came from this to away to that. Look at Uganda. Black people, dark skinned black people killing each other. Literally a genocide. And look how they build Uganda right now. This is not. I don't want. People want to sit there put the whole. The racial. Like it's just. I'm sorry. It just bugs the crap out of me because it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, yeah, whatever. So where gonna make the money? And how you're going to build, and how you're going to build trade, and how you're going to be seen as
Mm-hmm.
respected by other men. Because
Mm-hmm.
right now, I don't know who George is, right? But I can tell, judging that his profession, the way he comes correctly, I gotta give respect to this guy, and I don't know where he's at right now because I can see eye to eye what's going on, and that's the thing why I have an issue with a lot of these guys now. They're fighting for approval for women, which is weird to me because amongst men, we fight for approval of other men to show that we're the dominant alpha male guys. That's how it is. It's called competition. These guys don't want competition. They want, so I don't know what they
Mm-hmm.
want.
And that's male nature, competitiveness. Like that's masculinity. That's how it's supposed to be. Men are supposed to compete for resources for women. That's naturally how it's supposed to be. And it works because men are building businesses and they compete with each other. So I don't know. I think that's needed. That's what men need to get up. So yeah, I agree with you. They don't want that no more. So mhm.
Well, that's something. It's I don't know how your dad was, George. I don't know, am I pronouncing it right? George.
JorJor.
George. Okay, George. Yeah, I don't know how if your dad, how he raised you. But the way I was raised, my dad put me to work at around 10 years old. He literally put me to work at 10 years old as a kid. And I really do feel like a lot of these dads, when I see, and when see in the labor industry, for example, we see these kids just quit within a day. I don't think he realizes how some of these kids are really become really this lazy, and he knows what I'm talking about. They work in these fields, and like the second day they just leave. Like, oh, I got back pain. It just, I can't do this. It hurts too much, and they're done in 2 days, and they're right back playing video games, and it just proves my point. And that's bad because that's a reflection of what kind of dad raised you, and that's something that I always try to tell these guys. Like, listen, even if you're gonna be in white collar industries, learn to fix stuff. Learn to fix a car. Come on, man. It's everything's on YouTube now. It's like,
Well, man, I'll tell you this. So, as
Mhm.
somebody who does a lot of courier delivery services, I have to
yeah,
drive all the way from Nevada. Yeah, I am in the Las Vegas Valley, by the way, from here to Michigan. If I'm going to be doing all this traveling, I should at least know how to take care of the basics of a car because I have broken down in the middle of nowhere before in Tornado Alley. You don't know how to
yeah,
fix it and get yourself on the road, you're screwed. So
yeah.
yeah, I know how to do all that stuff, and you can even learn how to change your starters, your battery, your oil change, new tire, or the new gaskets, or your new rotors, struts. If you could actually make that into a business, you'll make bank.
Oh yeah.
My
Oh, somebody said a
family
good
does
comment.
mechanics and auto body. But what's up?
Somebody said a good comment. It said it's not about instilling a competitive culture and not worrying about. It's all about instilling a competitive culture and not worrying about hedonism and gender warring. I agree with that. I agree
Oh,
with that.
that's I want to I want to live with what he said is that this is really sad to say this, but there's way too many kids that are lazy, and it's really staggering. And I really do believe that it's important to talk about this because you look at the way the structure is right now, these kids are becoming really lazy. And this also includes even my own nephews. That's why I got to take away their iPads, away. I'm like, you're not taking, no, 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 you're going to learn. You got to pick the sticks up in the house. And that's just, you got to start doing that because you want to train, it doesn't become, and the thing, that's why I try to tell you right now because we're old. We're all old people now. We're done. We're not kids no more. It's done. We had our time. That's it. We got you got prepared for the next generation, and this goes for everybody. Everybody. This is why I get mad about these guys talking about these women, this and that. I'm like, bro, it's too late. You're not 21. You're not 18. It's over. Party's over. You are 32. You're 33. You are a grown ass man. It starts for you to be a teacher of the next generation, and that's what you need to do. And learn the mistakes that you made, and warn them not to do the same mistake as you. And that's how you better yourself. And that includes even for me, and that includes anyone here has any alcoholic problems or drug abuse problems in your households. My family is a huge had a alcoholic problem before. The same thing for anyone else. I want people to hear this because you know, particularly the kids out there that are biracial Americans. I'm gonna target them right now with those kids. Is that what's damaging is that if you are still identifying with being pro black, or in this case, for example, even pro white, but definitely pro black, you are really damaging yourself. You are recycling a bad behavior into your own next generation. And that's not good. Because look what pro blackness has done to the black American, done horrific, horrible things. That did not cure them nothing. Okay? What had all these little I'm a hotep talk has done? Nothing. And
It's
you
all
know why?
talk. It's just
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, and being obsessed about white people 24/7. And yeah, we all been there. We all been in pro black spaces, and all this
Yeah.
talk, nothing gets done really. So it's like it's
No.
just a waste of time. Yeah.
No. I I don't I just it's sad because like, oh, look at these other groups of people, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you do what they're doing? Go Home Depot and fix your house, bro. Like, get some paint jobs. Get that yard cleaned up. You're the man. You're a guy. Like, women. Like, what do you want women to do? Get up there and start fixing up the roof and all that stuff? Like, I mean, technically women can, but let's see for real. Like, these women waiting for you. Like, it's embarrassing. It's like that's something people don't understand. It's like no one's stopping you. Home Depot's right there, and if you gotta live there 24 hours, I don't give a damn. You better need to know. You better need to fix stuff up. Literally fix stuff up because y'all are falling apart. And I'm sorry I said
Yep.
the biracial Americans that are like very hotep and pro black, whatever, for example, get rid of them immediately. Say, you know what? Fine, go somewhere else. Go back there, champion them. We're done. Cut them. Just throw them off. That's it.
We
This
gotta be pro biracial. We gotta be
well,
pro
Yeah, I
biracial.
mean, like, I already like told Magic that hey, the first people who are going to come around to subvert our communities are pretty much going to be those like us, like me and you, Magic. It's just they're going to be like people who are going to send a bunch of agents their ways who are like us to subvert our chats and cause even more division.
that whole pro.
Yep,
And you
yep.
know
And
what's
somebody said a
something
good
about this?
point. Pro black is an idea and a theory. You can't build a skyscraper off of talk. It's true. You can't build a skyscraper off of just talking about it. Gotta
And
do it.
you know what? Something someone built those skyscrapers and
Mhm.
just didn't magically appear somewhere in the sky. You know,
Mhm. Somebody built
this
it.
is yeah, and it's and that's the thing about all this talk, and you know, because listen, people think I'm this race crap that you know they don't know nothing about me in real life and in person. I've talked to African American contractors and I did ask him about like, hey, you know, why don't you guys? I don't see many black guys in this profession like that. And I never forget. I was like it was like 10 years ago. He literally told me. He says, "Yo, Kem, the reality of it is a lot of black men. When they think of labor, they think of slavery, and that if they're outside working, they
Damn.
feel like they're enslaved. They're basically doing slave work, and they don't want. They
But they're
feel a
getting
better
paid. Slavery means you don't get paid. If you're getting paid for it, then it ain't slavery. Isn't
and people think that I don't talk. I like listen. I told you before. I've talked to Black American people off of YouTube. I've talked to ex pro Black people. I talked to people that are part of those hotep circles. I've talked to the women. I've talked to all types of people, and it's just crazy. And the stuff they say in what they come out of their mouths, and the especially in my profession, they have told me that a lot of black guys are they're lazy, and I say, well, why do you say that? Because I try hiring them, and when I hire them, a lot of them don't want to work, and it's my own people, and you know I try to hire them within my own family. They didn't want to work, and they don't want to show up. And I said, I'm sorry, but I got hired these guys at the corner at the Home Depot. These the you know the guy from Guatemala. He's there in the morning just ready to work with me, and it's like, you know, I pay him more because he's a good worker. And it's like, and you know, it's sad to say that, but you know, there are Black Americans that are in you know the professions in my profession. I've seen them, but so few. And when you talk to them, it's the same thing. Like, and whenever I say that, then they go ballistic and say, "Oh my God, you know this guy's a you know effing racist guy." But it's like, no, you know, it's just the truth, and it's that goes back to parenting. I'm sorry, and that goes back to the dads, and why I hear these guys online point the finger at you don't understand how I feel and Jim Crow and slavery. You don't understand my pride and blah blah. Okay, whatever. But it doesn't stop you from you know going on YouTube and learn how to put concrete in a driveway. Like it doesn't, you know, and that's because there's some money to be made, especially right now. Bro, you don't even have to take a class. You can literally go on YouTube and just say I'm Jimmy's Concrete driveway, you know, company, and just slap yourself in a pickup truck and say you're automatically a business owner. It's just like you know get your license of course eventually, but it's just like you know they can do that. It's really right there, and they don't want to use any tools. And I'm sorry, but I'm in this profession, and you know I'm talking about this. It's just I'm sorry. It's just this is the truth.
I'd like to
and
also
we
say,
can't
Ken, that
afford.
I also. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but I was
What
just
what I
saying
was
we can't
gonna.
afford to be like that. We got to really build. We got to make sure that we're learning what to do and what not to do from both of the communities that we come from. So it's very important that we, take on the good aspects and make sure that we're rejecting the bad. So we can have something for ourselves. And yeah, well, go ahead, Georgia.
Yeah, so to say, like in the real world, especially in the society that I live in, I know that equal opportunity for business ownership is out there. Because what I was about to tell Kim is that, hey, I am also am a business owner too. I built it up for the past year and a half, and so far it's been very successful, especially in my market. The equal opportunity is out there. So whatever historical wrongs or baggage happen or whatever, okay, well, too bad. Suck it up, own it, realize that the world's not going to tiptoe around your problems and just keep it moving because you still have equal opportunity regardless of what happened throughout history. Yes, our people certainly were disenfranchised. They definitely went through a lot. The generational trauma is there, but like I said, you now need to take ownership of it though and just keep it moving though, because that's not going to pay my bills. That's not going to ensure generational wealth for my family, and that is definitely not going to keep me going. But my business, my strong will, God, my dog, and my good team members here are.
I always love this storyline about the
Absolutely.
was it Wall Street and like the bombings occurring. Like, oh, you never been bombed before in your
Yeah,
in your
Oklahoma,
community.
Oklahoma,
Yeah,
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, right? And but yeah, Laos,
Tulsa,
that
yeah.
the most bombed country in the world. It didn't stop the Laos community in California to have little restaurants and like grocery stores and I've seen them like their own construction companies. It didn't stop them. They were the most bombed country in the world. They were literally being nuked every single day. And to this day, there's literally little mini bombs where they have to tell kids, "Do not play with this because you'll explode." I mean, it's just that is not like they talk about. Oh my God, you don't understand how it is in my community, and you know what's so sad about this? It's sad about it is that you know what y'all don't see as opportunity, other groups of people do, and that's what's sad, and that's really what's happening.
Yeah, we
And
gotta look for opportunity and take opportunity instead of overlooking it. And yeah, I agree.
Just know that there's just a hell of a lot more to life than our DNA. Like, we're always going to be Afropean or Euro-Afric, whatever, we want to be, called or whatever. But we're always going to be that. But then we have to realize that there are just so many amazing avenues to embark upon that are going to bring us closer and closer to that light at the end of the tunnel. But it starts with believing, and it
Yep,
starts with changing the mentality and our culture in order to reach that point. Because in
absolutely.
the
And I
real
think this is
world,
a
I barely even think about race. Race is honestly not a big deal for me in the real world at all. I live overall a normal life, and life does not really have to be so hard as much as I guess the people you're dealing with have
you
to
in
make it
Vegas,
out to
man.
be them.
The white man's out to get you, man. Those casino guys are out to get you, man. They own everything, man. They
Okay,
can't
well,
do
I'm
it.
doing a hell of a
so
lot better than those wannabe casino mobsters. Nice to know that, brother.
so yeah, I think this was a good stream. I'm gonna close it out. I love that we started. The whole point is people gotta stop being so obsessed with sex and just start building, right? Like that's more important than anything. And I do appreciate you
And,
coming on here. You're very controversial, but I'm willing to
and you
talk to
see,
anybody. I mean,
and you
yeah.
see, you see how it came from something like a title like that, and it comes down to a conclusion of this is what needs to happen, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
I hear from other people. They're all fighting, and it goes back to feeling sorry. I'm like, no, 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 no. Scratch that. You're being fetishized, but take some control and start fixing things up because it starts with you. The individual is going to
Mm-hmm.
listen. Even the people that hate my guts, even the ones who are quietly Black American, probably here listening. Listen up. You need to get your shit together and focus on building. I'm talking about my men here because at the end of the day, we're gonna be judged by men, and we're gonna be achieve greatness by other men. That's just how it is.
Absolutely. And thank you guys so much for watching. This was a great topic. It got me inspired. I really want to. I think. I think we just start focus on building. Have that as our first priority. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. Stop. Fetishize. Okay, that's one thing, but building is the most important thing that we really need to, come together and do as a community. Absolutely. So anybody, make sure y'all like, sub, subscribe, all that good stuff. Join the Discord. We're probably going to be talking about this in the Discord. Continue the conversations and stuff like that. So, but yeah, this was good, y'all. Y'all got anything to say? Closing thoughts?
Send people in the chat your Discord link since some are asking for it.
Oh, click. Look, it's right here. It's pinned. It says join the show. Click that link right there, and you'll be part of the Discord. All right.
But yeah, I guess.
There you
I
go.
guess
Look, there you go.
Awesome. Yeah, just to be really quick, this the very last thing that I will say is that, as I said in the chat, we can at least give ourselves at least a semblance of a normal life. Life does not have to be so hard as much as a handful of us are making it out to be. And like I said, there's so many amazing avenues to embark upon apart from talking constantly about your DNA, because there's just a lot more to it, though. We can become a very beautiful, multifaceted people, but a lot of us just have to believe in it. But too bad many of us don't. But at least we have potential.
Yep. Any last closing thoughts, Kim, before I say some?
For all the people out there, because I've seen some of the some of the shots right now from someone else. To all people out there that don't like me, as long as you don't, as long as you choose not to like me, that's fine. As long as no one tells you to don't like me, that's not good. And the thing about it is, for all you guys, is this: it doesn't matter you like me or not. It doesn't, because I could care less. What it does matter is that whether you like this or not, you got the biracial Americans. It doesn't matter, paper or not. Just the fact that you're breathing, you're existing, you guys already are automatically your own group, your own ethnic group by default. And my honest advice will still say, stick to each other, date and marry, and have be a real community, have us, and start building. And that's the main thing. Start actually physically building. And it takes little by little, but I'm surely that down the road it's going to happen. So, and on a side note, the people that want to be pro whatever, or they identify, just tell them there's your walking papers. Ta. So that's it.
Thank you so much. Yep, I think this was a wake up call to all of us, and making sure we got our priorities straight, and we're putting first things first, and we're not worried about stuff that doesn't produce anything, and we're worried about results. We're worried about performance. We're worried about making sure we are we can compete, and that we can thrive, and then that we can build, and that we're capable, and that we are competent. Okay, those are the most important things that we need to be worrying about. Do what you're capable of, even if you're working at McDonald's or Burger King. Let's not job shame. If you're doing something, if you're working, it's something. Okay, do what you're capable of. Do what's in your just don't do nothing. Like, do something. Do what you can. Okay, and I love all of you guys. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. And I appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Likewise.
Keep going round and round in the same place. Tell me how you feel, is it real? I don't wanna overthink. Is it all for show? I don't know, feeling like I'm on the brink of something beautiful, or maybe terrible. I know I shouldn't ask you to be open with me when I have my secrets that I'm